welcome back to another episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. I am your host, Alethea Felton. Thank you for joining me today. And I am so excited because season 3 is approaching very soon. Season 3 will kick off in December, and I have lots coming down the road for 2025, just not with the podcast, but with everything happening in my life, in my business, in just a lot. And also, I'm going to put it out there, you all. I am also a professional speaker, so I am open for speaking engagements. A lot of that is happening as well. So I will be making some announcements regarding that coming up very soon in terms of a speaking engagement that I have coming actually in December. It's a virtual engagement. So I'm excited about that. But I'll talk about that later. I've got to simply say that the guest today, Adria Gross, is a phenomenal human being. Yes, that transition I had to make because when I'm talking about speaking engagements and things of that nature, Adria has such a gift of helping people find their voice when it comes to this world of insurance and claims and things of that nature. If you have ever had challenges getting claims approved or have had issues with the healthcare system, she is the advocate of all advocates in knowing how to navigate through those challenges with healthcare companies. She is well known in the industry, and I am so honored to know her. She is a wealth of knowledge for people at all levels of healthcare insurance, regardless of your generation, regardless of the type of plan you have. She knows how to navigate the system, and these companies know her. So she is the guest for today, and I want to jump right into this episode. Because of the topic of it, share this episode with at least 4 people that you know. Share it with at least 4 people. More are always welcome to hear it. So yes, share it. And I want to jump right into this interview. So I'm going to start with our affirmation. I'm going to say it once and then you repeat it. And then we're going to have a powerful conversation with Adria Gross. I have the right to speak up for myself because my voice matters. I am so thrilled to have Adria Gross today as our guest. And as you heard from the introduction, she is a wealth of knowledge and so much more, just classy, elegant, knowledgeable, everything. And Adria, I'm so happy to have you here on the Power Transformation Podcast.
I'm thrilled to be with you. Thank you.
Of course. Now, let's go ahead and just break the ice some for our audience and for me. And I like to ask this question just so we get to know you better. But Adria, thinking about who you are, what is one of your favorite hobbies?
I never thought I'd ever write a book.
Oh.
And I have to tell you, when the suggestion came to me from my coach, who also does my website and marketing and advertising, he said, "Okay, you got to get a book out." And his suggestion was to educate people on the company I've been running now. I started a business 19 years ago, and then I added a division about 15 years ago. But I've been in the health insurance industry now for 35 years. And I don't want to give up on writing the books. I love what I'm doing. I always wanted to be a teacher. And I know that my books are educating people. So I never thought I would do this, but I'm so happy that I'm on track. Really, really
Yes.
happy. Yeah, thanks.
Wow. So it seems like it's almost a hobby that came over the years where it's something you did and you knew that, wow, I really like this and I'm helping people and I want to continue doing it. So I like how that type of a hobby came to you. And I think it already shows people from the start that you may have hobbies that you haven't even discovered yet until you try. And I
Right.
think it's really transformative. And it leads me into asking Adria, if you were to describe Adria Gross, who would you say is Adria Gross?
I'm telling you, I have had an amazing life. I mean, when I look back at everything that I went through,
Mhm.
um, you know, I got sick when I was 11 and a half. I had encephalitis, was an inflammation of the brain.
Mm,
And I was in school at the time, and I the teacher thought I was trying to get out of an exam. I wasn't. Um, I just wasn't feeling well. And my friend walks me down the hall, sat down in a chair, went into a coma.
mm,
And my dad came to pick me up a couple hours later, and he saw I could walk, but I couldn't talk. And I wound up coming out of the coma after 10 hours. Um, and I realized after being sick, I had encephalitis, inflammation of the brain.
mhm.
I was amazed that I lived with epilepsy. You know, I received epilepsy from that, and I lived with epilepsy for almost 25 years. I used to average 18
Wow.
seizures a month. At one point, I was on 32 pills a day, never controlled, but
Mhm.
it was just a very tough life. So after I had a left temporal lobectomy, they took out a portion of my brain. I even said to the doctor afterwards, I said, show me what he was a neurosurgeon. He had a brain on his desk. And I said, show me what you took out. And I turned to him and I said, that's the size of a cooked knockwurst.
Oh.
Yeah. But you know what? I lived with this condition. And my first job, I mean, I went to school for education. They wouldn't certify me to be a teacher because I walked out of a classroom. It was before the Disabilities Act of 1990. And
Mhm.
um, and I always wanted to be a teacher, so couldn't. Worked in the garment industry. After the brain surgery, my first job, I went to an insurance company in the claims area, and within 2 weeks, they taught me how to deny claims.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pause you there and we're going to definitely talk about this more, but it's so ironic how you talk about having had this passion of wanting to be a teacher. And as you know, I'm an early retired educator who worked in schools for 20 years in multiple roles, just not inside of the classroom. And the reason I say it's ironic is because American schools in the states are bleeding for teachers. They need teachers now, and pretty much anybody can literally get a job as a teacher now. And to know that you actually had the heart for it
Right.
and were denied it, but yet you found a way to educate people in a different way. But I want to talk about this really quickly about your journey because what you do now, I think, is so powerful. And we'll talk more about that. But although you touched on it, take us back to that early diagnosis of encephalitis. You said, of course, it's inflammation of the brain,
Mhm.
but what were some of the symptoms of it? And then how do you grapple with all that being a child living with such a condition that can be fatal?
Well, it was really hard, and I was young. The one thing, there are a couple things I'll say
Mhm.
is I wound up about 90 miles away from where I was living in the time. It was Port Jervis, New York. I wound up in New York City. And I'm on a floor where everybody was under the like 18 or younger. It was like the children's floor at New York University Hospital. And my mother comes into the room. First, they thought it was a brain tumor, which I'm lucky because I didn't, people die from that. People even die from encephalitis. And I
Mhm.
was really blessed that I'm still alive. I mean, it was like unbelievable. But my mom went down the hall and she was walking into rooms for other children just to say hello. And she comes back to me and she says, I want you to come down the hall with me. I want you to meet somebody. And the woman at the time, she was about 16 or 17 years old, and she had open heart surgery. And after we left her room, and I'm only 11 and a half years old. My mom said to me, there's always someone who has it worse than you, you know? And what happened to me, this last book I got out, my first book was Solve Curing Your Medical Insurance Problems. Ralph Nader liked it so much, he won international edition, multi-payer medicine nightmare, made in the USA. But this last book, apparently different, really, in the first chapter of the book, it talks about friends of mine, like the woman who walked me down the hall. Her parents said to her, don't be friends with Adria anymore.
Hmm.
So, I mean, here at the age of 11 and a half, people who I'm friends with are avoiding me. That's why I did apparently different. I was apparently different, and people avoided me. And I saw the change after having the seizures for 25 years of my life. And now nothing was stopping me. I wasn't having seizures.
Hmm.
And I remember my brother and a friend of mine said to me, your intellect has changed. So I
Hmm.
was blessed. I was blessed very much because I had nothing stopping my life by having a seizure. A lot of times it took me 4 hours to come out of a seizure. You know,
Oh my
like the
goodness.
seizure might last only for maybe a few minutes. And one time I had one after the other where one was an hour, the next was another hour. But the thing is, when you have a seizure, it exhausts you and you've got your brain has to rejuvenate.
Yeah.
And it,
Question, really, really quickly. In
yeah.
terms of a seizure, because my sister also lives with epilepsy, but she gets blackout seizures.
Mhm.
Were your seizures like grand mal seizures,
They
blackout
change.
seizures, a combination?
They change with medication. I got to tell you something. Chapter
Oh.
3 of my new book,
Mm-hmm.
apparently different, is I tried to make it funny,
Yeah.
but seizures change with medication. That's what happened to me.
Interesting.
Yes. So
Oh.
when you would change to a different medication, you might get a different type of seizure. So
Oh.
I had that in the book, apparently different. Chapter 3 is 4 psychomotor seizures and the crazy things that I did. Like I had a date. I meet him in the village in Greenwich
Mm-hmm.
Village.
Mm-hmm.
And you get nervous when you're meeting someone, right? And here I'm meeting him for the first time. I went into a psychomotor seizure and I ran away from him.
Oh.
I ran 3 blocks. I come out of the seizure. I said, what just happened?
Oh my goodness. You
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 know?
just totally blanked out of it. I mean,
Yeah,
you couldn't
yeah.
control it.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, when I read that chapter, I mean, it's in a way could be funny, but it could people
Mhm.
might cry over it. They might be
It
saddened.
wasn't at the time. It wasn't
Yeah, I
funny
mean,
then.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can look at it
Mhm.
both ways, but it was, I mean, I lived through
Wow.
rejection. I lived through rejection when I met this guy. After
Yeah.
I finally realized, oh my God, I had a psychomotor seizure. I ran away from him. And then I finally said, oh my God, I had a seizure. And I told him what happened. And guess
Mm.
what he did? He turned around and walked away from me.
Wow.
So, my heart goes out to people who have seizures because, or even other things, because look at what he did to me. He just walked away. He didn't want to hear anything,
Mhm.
and I'm sure, like in the book, it's not just about me, it's 25 other people. But what I'm trying to teach people is not to be scared of others who have a condition. Treat them as human beings. Treat them how you want to be treated. And that's what
Mhm.
you have to think about. Like, what if they were in your position? What if they were sick?
Yeah.
You know, how would they
Mhm.
feel if I just walked away from them?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And thank you for bringing an awareness to that because although I live with certain conditions. It doesn't matter, just as you said, what we have, but it's that universal connection that we have with it. And I'll never forget. And I don't think I've ever shared this publicly, but I was dating a man years ago when I was in my 20s, and he was just not someone I was dating, but he was an actual friend. I mean, a friend. And when I started getting sick with the Crohn's and things of that nature, we had been friends for several years and
Mhm.
we're dating. I mean, yeah. dating, but he just abruptly cut me off and had some type of lame excuse. So it hurt to say the least because I didn't understand why. And especially the last thing he said to me after we talked about everything, he said, I promise you that I'm not going anywhere. And it felt so comforting. And then
Right.
that next day, he totally ghosted me. So
Oh
years
my.
later, I saw one of his sisters at a mutual friend's wedding.
Hmm.
And she talked to me and said that he told her the reason why he left was because it scared him. So he's married now, great and all. But I honestly said, Adria, when I found out he had gotten married, I literally said, I pray to God that his wife never gets sick. Because if you could do that, then now, of course, all is healed and well. I have a wonderful man now who embraces me. But I think that you saying how your date at the time just walked away, that can truly leave a scar in the moment that can take years to heal. And it leads me to asking you, is that from your epilepsy, the brain surgery, all of that, how did societal attitudes towards you change or shift after your surgery? And how did that shifting affect even your understanding of empathy and compassion?
Yeah, I got to tell you, all of a sudden,
Mhm,
I could be friends with anybody,
mhm,
anybody,
mhm,
And why is it that people couldn't treat me that way before? In this
mhm,
book that came out, there's a woman who I spent a lot of time with, and she was the one who walked me down the hall. She became a nurse. Her husband is a neurologist. It's amazing. She walked me
mhm,
down the hall. Her parents turned to her and said, "Don't hang out with Adria anymore. She's not well." And
mhm.
she apologized to me when the book came out because I've interviewed a lot of people who knew me even before I got sick.
Oh.
And it was interesting to see how they felt about it. And I interviewed them because look, I want people to read this book apparently different, but inside there it talks about how these people felt when I got sick. And it opens minds of others who are not well.
Mhm,
And look, my prayers go out to all of them that please God, may someday there be a cure for your condition
mhm.
and be helped. But listen, people are scared. They don't know what to do and they don't know where to turn. And my next book's going to be apparently different for kids because I want kids to learn early that they should not be this way. They really have to be open and willing to learn and not close off other people because
Mhm.
hey, you're different, you're weird, what's wrong with you? Like, no,
That's right.
everybody should be treated equal. And again, if it happens to them that they get sick and someone walks away from them, how are they going to feel about it? And they need to
Mhm.
start thinking about this. Adults, children, there has to be a change in how others treat you because you have a condition. I mean, I couldn't believe that I was rejected. And then after the brain surgery, those problems didn't exist anymore.
Mhm.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm happy that I'm well. I'm happy that I got over my condition, but I just can't believe that people will treat you that way because of their own fears and insecurities.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so in terms of you being an advocate even now when it comes to the insurance and medical fields, what led you to even doing that, Adria? And in that line of work, tell us a bit about what you do there, as well as what have been some of the most significant challenges that you've encountered in that role, and how has that shaped your own personal approach to advocacy?
Okay.
Mhm.
You want to know the challenges and what brought me
Yeah,
here.
so
So,
yeah,
so
so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I'll tell you what
so
happened. Yeah, after
yeah.
after
Mhm.
I had the brain surgery.
Mhm.
I had 2 years at one insurance companies where within 2 weeks they taught me how to deny claims.
Mhm.
And then I went to another insurance company. I did training. They were moving down to Richmond, Virginia from New York, my division. and I did training down there. And then I went to another company, which I worked at it for 10 years, and I had 3 different positions there. My first position was again denying claims.
Mhm.
So what I learned at that company is when I did denials, and all of a sudden you get a phone call and they say, Adria, pay this claim. I learned how to twist the arms of the insurance company to pay the claims.
Wow.
If you match within the requirements of what your policy says, I'm going to overturn that case. I'm going to get it done. And I don't mess around. I mean, my God, I was just recently in the New York Magazine, and
Mhm.
that only happened a few weeks ago. And in February this year, I made the front page of a newspaper of a case that was
Wow.
$225,000,
That's amazing.
and she had been I couldn't get it paid. And finally, when it made the media, they called me up
Mhm.
within 2 days, within a couple days before it was going to be published. They called me up and they begged me not to publish it. And I said, look, you guys waited 4.5 years before you finally told me that you're going to write off the bill. But look what I had to do to get you to write the bill off.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and 3 times I said, please don't report it don't report it. And I said, look, I'll talk to the writer, but I can't guarantee I'm going to get out of this. I said, you need to understand this. And I called the writer and they still published the article. So, you know, the thing is this, that's a challenge in itself. And
Yeah.
you know what? It's so rewarding to me. It's nothing about the money. When someone calls me up, I always tell them, hey, this is what you could do. If they want to hire me, I'm here to help you.
Mhm.
But um those really are when you think about it, those are
Yeah.
the challenges that people face. I mean, I lecture before attorneys, CPAs, and financial planners to teach them what they need to tell their own patients, what they can do to help their patients, which is in the book,
Mhm.
solve curing your medical insurance problems. The first time that I even thought I could do anything like this, a gentleman who helped me start my billing business, who I thought saw through SCORE, he had a bill for $108,000. And when you took
Wow.
away what was related, definitely, okay, we'll pay for those. What's not related and what's questionable, when we took those questionable, not related away, his bill went from 108,000 down to 22. He won the case, and he only had to pay back $22,000.
Mhm.
So, I mean, what I realize that I can do, and I'm so grateful every day to be healthy and to help all these people. I mean, the whole thing is a blessing in itself.
Yeah, exactly. And so was it from your own personal health challenges that even led you to do this line of work, or was that not your initial way of thinking at first, but it kind of formed into that?
So I had brain surgery in
Mhm.
March of 89, and I started working for an insurance company in December of 89.
Okay.
Okay, so listen to
Okay.
this. I go back to the neurosurgeon, okay? And the bill was sent. I was insured immediately through my employer. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I get in the bill in the mail for $275. And I say, I'm an employee here. I'm working for an insurance company. I'm working for you. Can't you pay my bill, my entire bill? They said, well, we'll look at it again.
Oh
So
my.
what they did, $275 I had to pay. They reduced it down to another $17 less.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm an employee. That's what you're
Exactly.
charging me.
They could have paid that.
Right. So I have to tell you, that was my first taste
Mm.
of what it feels like when you go into a hospital. You might have surgery like that woman I told you, but 225. I've had claims over $1 million. I had a case
Mhm.
where this woman, she got insurance through the state, and then the hospital decided they weren't going to pay people anymore. She had stage 4 cancer for 3 years. Now it's her fourth year. And they say to her, hey, we're not going to pay that hospital any longer. Let me tell
Wow.
you, between the hospital and the insurance company, I did not give up. When I get a case, I put my teeth into it. I'll fight as hard as I can. The sad thing is that when they decided to pay out the 1 point something million to the hospital, she died 3 weeks before that.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. The stories I can tell you are insane,
Oh,
but I tell people don't give up. You have to
that's
fight for
right.
your rights. This is it.
Mm. Wow, Adria. And I want everybody listening is that, the premise of this podcast, as you all know, are to tell stories of challenges, adversity, but how people transform those. And you are definitely changing the lives of so many people who may seem that all hope is lost. And so, even you to have the courage to write apparently different is a story in and of itself. And so, you share deeply personal experiences in that book, but what was the most challenging part of writing that story, and what do you want readers to take away from it?
All right. Listen, no matter what, don't give
Mhm.
up. But I got to share
Yeah.
one thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I kept everything as a secret. After I had the brain surgery, I didn't want to tell anybody anything. I didn't want them to
Hmm.
know about me.
What was your rationale behind it?
Fear that nobody would
Oh.
hire me. Okay.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then when I realized what I was able to accomplish within about 10 years after the brain surgery, it was 10 to 15 years. Finally, a friend of mine pushed me to go open.
Hmm.
And when I went open, when I finally released what I lived through and was able to talk about it, oh my God, the weight, the feeling in my head was relieved, because now I can talk about it. And, when you can get yourself to the point of not being scared to talk about your own situation,
Hmm.
it helps you overcome it, but it will also help other people to learn what you experience, and it will give them hope. Please hope that that hopefully for them there will be a cure at some point.
Hmm. Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, in your health and wellness journey, I know that you said how this had been a 25-year journey for you, and that thankfully you are healthy now. But in what ways, in living through this, overcoming it, how has this even influence your personal views on health and wellness? And what would you even say to a person who is trying to manage chronic health conditions while also going back and forth with insurance companies?
Well, look, you got to work hard, you got to pray, and you got to
Yeah.
try so hard to take care of oneself, you know,
Hmm.
um, and to try and have a positive attitude, not pity me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You gotta, I'll tell you, in my book, I wrote my friend Robin is in the book.
Hmm.
And Robin, when she was born, as well as someone who endorsed the book, um, they both of these people, male, female, they were both premature babies. And
Hmm.
they were both um, became blind due to oxygen. The oxygen burnt their eyes. They were an incubator. And both of these people, blind, have never seen a thing in their life. And you know what? They've both been successful. They've
Hmm.
lived a great life. They would not let this hold them back. Even when I had to decide whether or not I wanted brain surgery, I thought to myself, okay, do you want to have a disability the rest of your life? Or do you want to really try to be well? And
Hmm.
I thought to myself, okay, I fell down, I broke a rib. I mean, I even fell on subway tracks in New York City. So
Ooh.
when you think, hey, if surgery is going to help me, I said, I'm done with disability. I was on disability for 14 months. I'm done with it. I'm not, I really want to improve myself. I had the brain surgery and look at the outcomes.
That's right.
So you always have to think positive and you always have to push yourself and don't ever give up.
That's right.
And we never know what's around the corner. There might be surgery for these conditions that someday you might not have this problem anymore. There might
Hmm.
be medications they're coming out with that you might not have this condition,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that you said that because even with me having lived with chronic illness ever since birth, oh my goodness, over the years, certain people who have meant well have asked me, especially when I was a public school educator, I might have to go on short-term disability, maybe 2 and 3 month stints, but it was never over 3 months. But I'll never forget that I had certain people, this one person in particular, she always asked me, why didn't I just go out on permanent disability? And I'd say, because I can still talk, I can still walk, I can still move, I can still, and I will always compare and say there are people that I follow on social media who are quadriplegics and are still doing amazing things. I still enjoy making a difference in life and pursuing dreams. So I don't have to be, a total invalid if I don't have to. And so thank you for even saying that. But I find sometimes, I can't speak, of course, for everybody, but even in terms of trying to get new clientele, in coaching people with chronic illness, that can be hard to do because sometimes some people are so used to being sick that the thought of being well, or at least changing your perspective on it, is challenging and difficult. And it's something that they have a hope for, but are scared to actually try and do. And so that's why now I'm shifting more towards more speaking engagements and things of that nature. And so
Mhm.
it causes me to ask you this, in thinking about what you do in representing clients and advocating for them, let's talk about what it's been like going to the table, letting it be known to these insurance companies, hey, this is what I do. I have a track record of success. What has been some of the challenges in even doing this line of work? And how have you been able to, over the years, earn trust and respect and understanding from these big wig companies? Because you have a gift, Adria, and you are known. People know you in that world. And so they know if they're going to approach you, they have to come correctly. So how do you do that? What is your superpower in that?
Let me tell you, I always, at the beginning, I was so scared to speak to people, but yeah,
Mhm,
and I couldn't even lecture. I, I, I was I was taking classes to
mhm.
even be able to speak before people. I was in an organization called Toastmasters.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
to be able to get out and speak.
Yeah.
And, it was hard, but first of all, I tell people never give up, never give up, never give up. And then as I kept on working harder and harder to
Mhm,
go out and speak and educate it, I became much more confident within myself. Okay. And even look, people are scared. I mean, hey, when I went on
mhm,
disability, it took me 6 months to decide whether or not I wanted to give it a try and have the brain surgery. And I saw
mhm,
a therapist at the time. And I said to myself, do I really want to look? I never thought I would ever be published. I never thought that I'd be able to fight and speak to these hierarchies. I mean, I never thought that I would be published. I have a case right now where the hospital is not responding. I have two cases right now where the hospital is not even responding. And both of those situations, this person does not owe you any money. And there's two different reasons why with
wow.
each case, right? Well, you know what? Since I really understand the ins and outs and I've had the courage to go up and talk to these people, I feel so confident within myself, but it takes a lot of work and
Mhm,
trust within yourself, and I always tell people, like I said before, don't ever give up. You try your best to do it. If you need help, ask for help. Ask me, maybe have friends who can help you.
mhm,
I always have, I always try to help people no matter what, but you have to have the courage and don't let them don't let them tear you down, that you feel incompetent. Don't ever let that happen. Just keep on building yourself up and believe in yourself.
That's right.
And please, please, hopefully you'll get strong enough that you're going to fight for your rights.
And so how did you build yourself up? I know that you said you had a therapist and all, but how did you build yourself up? Say hypothetically, and I'm not asking to be funny acting, but
Yeah.
say there's someone listening or watching and say, I hear you, Adria. I have a hope to be able to speak up more confidently or even have the courage to connect with you. But it seems like you did it so effortlessly, although we know that's not the case. So how did you build that confidence? Was it that the rubber hit the road and you said, "Look, I've had enough. I'm just going to go all out"?
I guess you could say it that way.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I I'm going to tell you what really did me in to do the work I'm doing now
Mhm.
is when I went to one of my colleges, I asked them, I said to them, I have epilepsy. I said, can I come to college here? Is epilepsy going to be an issue? And they said no. Well, let
Mm.
me tell you, I was teaching. I went to college in Cambridge, right next to Harvard Law. I taught in Arlington, Massachusetts. And when I walked out of a classroom due to a seizure and then came back in after about 10 minutes, they called me in 2 weeks later and they said to me, we recommend you leave the college and reapply in 2 years. And I said,
Oh.
hey, look, I said, that was my first clue that I could fight. And what I did is I said to him, hey, look, you knew I had this problem and you allowed me to come to your college. And now I'm in my last year of college and you're telling me to leave and reapply 2 years. I said, no way. That's not going to happen. I said,
Mm.
because you accepted me. I'm here. I'm almost done. I said, okay. Now I found out, nobody told me this, that the state of New York and New Jersey, it was before the Disabilities Act of 1990. They never told me, that, hey, you can't be a teacher. They never said that. They took my money.
That's
And
right.
now you're saying, come back and reapply. I said, that's not going to happen.
Mm-mm.
And I took graduate courses in counseling for MSW, Masters of Social Work,
Mhm.
which got me to graduate. Instead of that June, I graduated that August. But that in itself made me a fighter. And that's what you have to do. Like I said earlier, you have to fight for your rights. Don't let these people just push you and push you and push you. Like, look, there are people who said to me, you're going to be a failure. And when they said to me, I'm going to be a failure, I'm still friends
Mhm.
with them today. And guess what? I proved them to be wrong.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
And
is
you gotta
extraordinary.
fight, fight, fight.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Don't give
I
up. Don't ever give up.
That's right. And I want everybody listening or watching this to know that I so resonate with that. And I'm glad that you said it, regardless of your age, regardless of anything, you've got to fight. And that's the one thing I've had to learn over the years, just not with health, but with anything that you desire, you have to push yourself to do it because at the end of the day, these same people that close doors in your face or tell you you can't, the way I always view it, Adria, is when they wake up in the morning, they have to shower, brush their teeth, go to the bathroom, just like I do. And
Yeah.
at the very end of the day, we're all born into this world the same way, even if we might come from different socioeconomic statuses. I mean, that we're all born as babies and we have the opportunity to create the life that we desire for ourselves if we believe it enough. So I thank you for being that light, almost in a sense, being a trailblazer, because the reality is there aren't a lot of people doing this work. There are some, but there really aren't a lot doing this work. And so, with that being said, reflecting on your overall journey, how has hope, HOPE, how has hope played a role in your ability to persevere through adversity? And how can our listeners and viewers cultivate hope even in their lives to continue to keep fighting and going on?
No, listen, you just have to believe in yourself. You
Hmm.
have to believe that you can do it. And as long as you believe it and you have that positive attitude, look, I tell people, when they send me their bills, I say to them, we're not going to give up. Like even that case that made the front page.
Hmm.
And I fought for 4.5 years for her. I said to her all along, don't give up. She wrote to me today and she says, Adria, I had dreams. I had nightmares that this was never going to happen. She
Wow.
says, you fought for me and you didn't give up. And that's what everybody has to do. If someone puts you down or they say, you're going to be a failure or, you want to give up, you can't handle it anymore.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, do not give up. Do not, believe in yourself. And
Mhm.
as long as you keep on pushing and pushing and pushing, you're going to be fine. You're going to be
Yeah.
great.
And you've shared a couple of examples, but tell us an example of a client with whom you've worked that stands out the most to you on how you really helped that client get what they were deserving of and how you're helping them change their life. What's a case that like stands out to you?
Well, there had one case
Uh-huh.
where it's a certain surgery they use for epilepsy. And it was after I had my brain surgery. I can't think of the name of it, but they put something in your neck. And I don't know exactly how the mechanism works, but
Mhm.
it will stop seizures. Okay. So here's a woman, major depression, major, to the point that she tried to commit suicide. Okay. And it was insured through a major health insurance company. Um, what happened was she did not have epilepsy, and they did this surgery for her for depression. And she read all these cases where it would help depression. So she contacts me, and I said to her, let's see what I can do to help you. Okay. So I went to the insurance company. I spoke to the executive office, and I said to him, look, nothing is working. She's been through all these procedures, medication, everything. It got to the point that she's so depressed that she tried to commit suicide. I said to them, I think what really turned the switch is when I said suicide.
Mhm.
Even though she didn't have epilepsy, but she had major depression, I got them to pay the claim. And when she went to the hospital for the surgery, they turned to her and they said to her, we have never had a case before where they're going to pay for this surgery, even though you don't have epilepsy.
Mm.
And they did the surgery. And now she no longer has it's helped her. This mechanism, this put in the neck, has helped her to, for the depression.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why I say to you, I mean, look, even when you get a denial
Mhm.
and we do research on it and we see that this is helping people, well, we can prove that. A lot of times I might be able to get that case overturned. You know?
Mhm.
And
Wow.
of course, look, there's no guarantee that surgery's ever going to work.
That's right.
Yeah, but hopefully it will. And
Mhm.
in her case, it did.
Wow. That is quite powerful. And I'm glad to hear she is doing much better. And so that brings me to this next question. And although we've been talking about it, just for further clarity for the audience, two things. Who exactly do you help? So, someone who's listening saying, you know what? I might need to contact her about something. So, speak directly on who should contact you? And also, how can a person connect with you? Do you only work with people that live in certain states? Tell us about that, how they can contact you, who you help, etc.
I am a national company. I'm honored. I am so honored to be able to do what I do. And what I look at is this. If your claims are denied, out of network, overcharged, you can't get pre-authorization, um, come to me. I'll give you the best guidance that I can. And I only have a limited time to talk, but if you want to hire me, I'm always here. But I also, this is a crazy thing that's happening now. When you turn 65 and you're going on to Medicare, and you see all these commercials are starting already, because you usually have to make a decision by the beginning of December what you're going to do for the following year. So what's happening is, if you decide, or let's say, look, your employer, when you retire, a lot of times they put you on these Medicare Advantage plans.
Mm-hmm.
If you go on a Medicare Advantage plan and they're throwing you out of the rehab, right now, AI, artificial intelligence, is throwing you out within 3 days. Otherwise, it's usually 2 to 4 weeks. And if you're improving when you're in this rehab, you're going to call me up. A lot of attorneys send me cases like this because they don't know what to do. But with all my years of experience in the insurance industry, I get the information together that we need, and I go before the Medicare judges. So if your claims are denied, out of network, overcharged, you can't get pre-authorization, or you got a Medicare Advantage plan where they're throwing you out of a rehab, or if you've had a long-term care policy for years and you meet the requirements, you wind up, in a long-term care facility, you have the insurance and you meet the requirements and they're denying you, come to me. I overturn those cases. So
Wow.
in any of those. And the name of my company is MedWise Insurance Advocacy. My website is www.medical, not MedWise. It's www.medicalinsurancedvocacy.com. Again, that's www.medicalinsurancedvocacy.com. And you can just call me at any time. I even do answer phones unless I'm really busy on the weekends. I do answer phones, and my phone number is 845-978-9493. Again, it's 845-978-9493. Please call me at any time. I'm here to help you.
Thank you, Adria. And I will definitely put your website in the show notes and everything like that. And I absolutely love the work you do. That's why when I first met you, I said there's no doubt not just to have you as a guest, but to just keep in touch with you in general, because you're so knowledgeable and I'm so passionate about this type of work that you do, and advocacy. It's so important. And so my closing question for you is, oh no, this is important. How can people buy your book? Tell us, how can they buy
Okay. So
books?
I've got
Plural.
3 books that are out.
Yes,
If
books.
you if you
Okay.
want to if you
Yes.
want to read about fighting the insurance companies, the one I recommend is Solved, SOLVED, exclamation point, curing, CURING, solve curing your medical insurance problems. If you really want to take a look and look within yourself with your own issues that you have, read Apparently Different. The cases in there, some of them, as sick as you may be, you're going to see other people in there who have it much worse than you.
Mhm.
So, either of those books I'd recommend. Solved is really going to help you with your insurance issues, and Apparently Different should make your life a little bit easier to say, hey, I don't have it that bad, and that book is all about respect for people who have a condition.
And they're on Amazon. Can we buy them through your website? What?
You can go to my website, it's on there. I have www.medicalinsuranceadvocacy.com. I also have www.adriagross.com,
Mhm.
or just go right on to Amazon. The three
Right.
books are there. Just type in my name, Adria Gross book, Amazon. It'll take you right to the three books.
And again, audience, I will have all of these in the show notes, or if you're watching on YouTube, in the description. And Adria is so humble, but she's a big deal, and she's not going to act like she is. So that's up to us to say she is, but she's a big deal, and she's really doing incredible work. And so as we come to a close, Adria, my closing question for you is, how has this advocacy and line of work and service that you do transformed your life?
Oh boy.
Mm.
I have to tell you, and I always say this to people, I love helping others. And if you go out, even if you have a condition, but you're able to help others, do it. Because not only are you helping them, you're going to help yourself. It
Yeah.
helps you to think and not, well, like I said, there's always people who have it worse than us. And it's going to make it easier for you to live with your condition, with hopefully someday it will be cured.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adria. It was such an honor having you here on the Power Transformation podcast. I continue to hope and pray the best for you in this work. And thank you for just gracing us with your presence today.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed today's show, then you don't want to miss an episode. So follow the Power Transformation Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you usually listen, and remember to rate and review. I also invite you to connect with me on social media at Alethea Felton. That's at ALETHEAFELTON. Until next time, remember to be good to yourself and to others.